Hello everyone, welcome in. Today we're going to be looking at the changes to the Paris map, which Wargaming are looking to bring us soon. It is changing very much in this area. The other parts of the map is not being touched. It's heavily focused on this area of the battle. So this is before on this part of the map, as you can see. It was very open. All this area here was super open. Anybody gets spotted in there, they would probably get deleted out the game very quickly. Some tanks would be risky and make an aggressive push, like light tanks would make an aggressive push across here and here to proxy spot. But it was always a bit risky if they made it or not. They could die before they would even get there. As you know, this area here and this area here were very big for light tanks and medium tanks. Tank destroyers occasionally, but they generally normally sit a bit further back. But these are the obvious areas in this map here. I would also say that this little spot here, this little spot here, this bush, and this bush were very good for light tanks. They could sit here and spot for a long time without never getting spotted. Occasionally, these two here, if any tanks came in through here, you could get proxy spotted. But the enemy tank would take a lot of damage by doing that. It's odd because looking at this overview, in light tanks, I'll be honest, I never really seen anyone sit here in any of my games as a light tank. But we know they used to go here as well. There's another light tank spot that they'd go to. But this is it before. It was very open. There wasn't a lot going on. And this is what you could expect. So, yeah, let's get rid of the lines. And let's move on to the next. The after changes, which is here. So, again, changes it very dramatically. So, in my opinion here, you're still going to have the obvious spot. So in here, you're probably going to have light tanks can go there, but probably not. Medium tanks and TDs would probably go there. Same on the other side. Actually, let's get rid of that one because it's a bit large. So again, you'd probably see light tanks, medium tanks, and TDs there. So with light tanks as well, they're still going to have a potential to sit here in this bush. And again, on the other side here. But I'm going to go into a bit more detail with that and why that might be a bit of a risk for the light tanks. Because there is I don't know if there's a element of potential proxy spotting going on with EBRs and other stuff that may get into that dip. But again, here, again, element of risk. You would expect to see maybe light tanks and medium tanks here now. And probably this spot here. But risk of a proxy spot. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Because the EBRs are very aggressive on this map. And with that said, any other light tanks could be very aggressive. If they come the usual way, so an EBR would make this play in through here, probably straight through down into this ridge here, and then they're just going to drive around here constantly like that. Again, will that be a proxy spot there? I don't know. I don't know the sign, but can that be a proxy spot there? Same on the other side. Could this be a proxy spot there? I don't think it is, but it's risky. Whether that be a proxy spot from EBRs, we just don't know. And then EBRs from the other side, let's get rid of some of these lines. They would come probably down through here, probably into here, drive around a bit, down here, back up. And it makes you wonder whether this here is going to be a proxy spot. And if they do drive into here and peak up a bit here, does that become a proxy spot? So without playing the map, it's going to be hard for me to tell. But it does look like there are potential proxy spots there. But that is what I'm seeing for the light tanks. Now, there's still going to be a spot here, which is a bit different. It's raised now. And there's going to be a spot here, which we'll see a bit further. They are raised. So tanks can shoot and back up behind cover here. If they do get spotted, which they probably would. But it does also beg the question here. What's going to happen here with all these trees? How much cover will that create? And it's the same over here. How much cover will that possibly create? One other thing, well, a couple of other things, looking at this point of view. Here, looks like it could be decent for sniping tanks. I'm trying to type that in so you can see what I mean. Because they should have a good line of fire. Let me get a good colour for you to see here. They should get a good line of fire from here all the way across into those bushes there. And I don't think they can... I think this building gets in the way here. So they can't really fire there. But it looks like there'll be a good line of fire there and there. And there's bushes here, so they can camo up. And they can peek out around the corner as well. I'll delete all that because it's getting a bit messy. Potential other position as well could be here for a heavy tank or anything that's hauled down here. Because they could come up here, get hauled down with good gun depression, and they've got that line of fire all the way across here. Not sure if that's going to be clean there, but they might have shots into those bushes. But this could be a good haul down position for a heavy tank, an armoured tank destroyer. Most things could probably play there. But this area here now looks like it's going to add an element into the game. Now, there's been some talk about this spot here, along here, being good for light tanks. I'm not convinced this is good for light tanks without playing the map, because we don't know how high this wall is here. Are they going to be able to see over it, or is it going to be too high? With light tanks being, most of them being quite flat and low to the ground, I don't know if they're going to be able to see over that. Again, it doesn't, I don't know what it would give them for spotting from being here. Just driving up and down and back around and trying to active spot, maybe. But again, it depends on the height of this wall. They probably will spot some stuff, but I think this is a very risky and open strategy here. But with saying that, there might be opportunities for haul down tanks, armoured tank destroyers, heavy tanks, to basically come and sit sort of, let me get the pen, to come and sort of sit here and have their gun sort of shooting here. If they can go haul down there successfully, yet to be seen until the map's played. But again, if they can, they'll get shots there. They'll get shots there. They'll get shots there. And they'll get shots there. But with it being hauled down, we don't actually know how effective that's going to be just yet. But that's one element that they probably can play. So let's take a look at the next image. So this was before from the other side, as you can tell. We won't go into too much detail. You had your obvious spots here. They'd all go. You would have a light tank spot there. And apart from, obviously you would get light tanks that would come in down here, and they try and do this thing here, and be in this bush and this bush. But it wasn't very exciting, to say the least. It was very static and a lot of sitting around. From the enemy side, we'll change the colour. As you can see, they'd have that. light tank would probably sit there. You'd get a TD there. But it was very, very undynamic and partially a bit boring. Now, the light tanks on the other team could do the same thing. They could come down here, make this play as well, sit in this bush here, and this bush here. But it was very, it was a bit of a stale. It was quite stale how it used to play before. And if we look at the next image to see how it's changing, then from this point of view, then as you can see already, it changes everything quite dramatically. So again, you're going to have your obvious spots here, which is going to be your potential light tanks, medium tanks, and TDs. I would expect to be there. Light tank area here. Again, we don't know about that proxy, whether that's possible or not. And again here, don't know if that's going to be proxyable from the mid, if anything goes down into these ridges here. But that's what I would expect there. Again, with these trees up here, we'll look into it a bit later date. I don't know whether tank destroyers will be able to sit there or not, depending on camo value. But this is what we would expect from here. The danger is, in my opinion, again, if EBRs or aggressive light tanks or even medium tanks make this play into here, drive around, back around here, and keep driving around. There's, again, here, is that a proxy? And would this be a proxy here? Potentially not, but we just don't know. Is that a proxy there and here from the enemy team? Until we play it, I'm not sure, but there's potential. I might be wrong, but there's potential for that to be proxied. On the enemy team, you've got the obvious spot there, as per normal. Again, light tanks, medium tanks, TD. You've got TD bush there, which looks like, wow, the TD corner there, which looks like it's staying. You're going to have this position here, which again, anything that can snipe might want to go there. The same here. You've got a similar ridge here. Actually, that is the wrong colour, so we'll take that away. You've got a similar ridge here that you can't quite see for the enemies to snipe. There's probably going to be a lot of spotting going on if people do try and snipe, because I can't imagine they're going to get away with it much. But we'll delve into those little spots there as we go. As per the other side, you're going to have a spot here, which might favour TDs, because they will get a line of fire, quite obviously, from that bush, up to there, up to there. That building's going to get in the way of potentially shooting here. But there's a bush, they can pop out, they can shoot, they can get behind cover, and they can bush up once again. Again, much like the other side, potential haul down meta going on here and here for haul down tanks to come up, keep their lower plates covered, get their shots off, and then get back down before taking any damage. That will open up a line of fire to there. For sure, it might get a little bit line of fire into there if they're lucky. But it will definitely opens up there, up there. And this one's mostly open. As you can see, lots of line of fire from that position. Again, the position we're looking at here, I still have my doubts with this. What this is going to actually achieve. I don't think this makes a good light tank run. I think light tanks just get spotted and shut out the game, making these runs here. We don't quite know how tall this is, to what light tanks we'll be able to see over, well, over, definitely not under. We don't know how successful that's going to be. And if a lot of tanks come here, if more tanks come here than your team, then that's just, it's a suicide run at that point. But again, if you get some hull down monsters, heavy tanks, armored TDs, sort of sat. Let's get the pen. Sort of sat here. Probably a bit big for a tank with their gun pointing over. If that's a very successful hull down position, and it would be on the other side. However, if both teams think of that, there's going to be line of fire into each of the sides along here. That is all open. So there's going to be line of fire back and forth. But if tanks can sit here, they've got shots all day long into here, up into there, up into the mid, and crucially, potentially quite some, not too many, but some into here, where other tanks will sit. Again, we don't know how this is going to play yet, how hull down that will be, but that could be very strong. So yeah, let's move on to the next part of the map changes. This was before, as you can see, we all know what it was like. Light tanks there. Light tanks here. Light tanks here. Light tanks there. And pretty much the rest of it in the middle didn't do a great deal indeed. You might get some light tanks, potentially medium tanks here, and this one here. But it was very static. Not a lot of people could make plays. It was far too open for anyone to really take risks. And that is pretty much how this would play. Light tanks, medium tanks, sort of in these positions. And let's take a look at the next image, see how much that changes again. Dramatically. As you can see, back and forth. That is dramatic, to say the least. And I'll show you what I'm talking about once again, in case you've missed any of it already, regarding the changes. My concern with EBRs is they're going to do this into here. Then they're just going to drive around constantly, all around here, and just be a menace until they finally get shot. With the proxy spot in here, with the enemy team that would be sat here, we weren't sure looking at it before, but now we're looking at it. If the EBRs are a bit more risky and make this play, then there's definitely looks like that will be a proxy spot. That has to be a proxy spot. So that potentially is proxy spots there if EBRs make this run. The other questionable one would obviously be here. I think they'll get away with this. EBRs could crest this ridge here, but I actually think they get away with this spot. Light tanks might get away with this spot. I'm not convinced that would be a proxy. It's hard to tell again whether that is going to be a proxy. I don't think that one is, but this one down here definitely could be. But, you know, light tanks don't have to sit there. They've also, they're going to have, there's a ridge here still that they can spot from. Worst case scenario, enemy team are going to have, if we change the colour here, the enemy team are going to have a similar ridge there. They're going to have this spot, which counteracts the other one, and this spot here. We put that as a light tank. So if the enemy's pushing from the other side, let me try and find a colour that you can see visibly on screen. So if the enemy EBRs make the play, which we expect them to do, to counteract the other enemy EBRs or light tanks, you're going to see something like this. They're going to push down here. They're probably going to make a loop here. Then they're going to do the same thing here, along here and back round, and just be a menace in and around here. But does this become a proxy? Depends how close they get, really. I can't quite see the elevation of this ridge here. They might be able to get closer. before they come back round. And that would be a proxy, which would be a very problematic position if you get proxied there or there. Here, if they do come and crest this ridge here, is that a proxy there? I don't think that is. So I think these two spots here are probably safe from a proxy, but the two lower ones here are these ones look risky for a proxy down there. But it depends on the aggression of the enemy team. These ones here look like they might be okay. They might get away with that light tank sitting there. And that is what I'm seeing from this point of view on this map. It could play differently, but this is what I would be expecting to happen. So, on to the next image. This was before. Not much to cover here because you'll know what happened. Tanks would sit here. Light tanks might sit here. We'll put snipe so you can all know. Tanks would snipe from here. This area here really didn't get used, which is interesting. You didn't really see anything used in that cover, or this cover here. I guess for the chances, if you get lit, you would die. So it wasn't worth the risk for a lot of people. But again, very open. Not much can happen. Obviously, you've got a TD that would sit there. Usually, well, it could be any tank, but usually it'd be a TD. Quite static, quite boring. So let's look onto the next image and see what we can make of that. Here we are. So again, you've still got the snipe area. We'll make that clear. You've got a potential light tank area, but we don't know that's open to a proxy, so we'll put that in. This here, from this image, it looks risky for a light tank. That does look risky from there to there. If those EBRs do make the run in here and up along this ridge, down and around, would that be a proxy? From here, it looks like it would be. From the other image, it looks like it wouldn't be. I do think that if EBRs do play the way they do and they come round, because this elevation here, there's definitely a proxy going on here. I would assume that is probably a proxy. But this one here, we just don't know. Hard to know from that one there. So, again, as per the other side, you've now got this area, which I would expect mediums, TDs, potential light tanks to go to. You've still got the TD area here, as per before. But it's interesting. It's an interesting change. Let's delve into the next image now. As it was before, don't want to give the before too much coverage because you all know how it was. The obvious spots here, here, here. Sometimes they'd sit along here and try and snipe. TDs would. But, and you know, occasionally they'd make a play into here and try and spot from that bush and hope they didn't get countered. But very open, very boring. Make of that what you will. Not much to cover there. You all know what it was. Let's move on to the next image. And here we are. I'm intrigued by these bushes here. What their purpose is going to be. Because if anything gets lit in these, I very much doubt they're getting away from anything. Because the line of fire from here, from the TDs, and the same from the other side, is going to be too much for anything here to contend with. So I don't know about these bushes here. Could light tanks go and sit there? maybe. What's their view range going to be though? Like, yeah, it can spot. I mean, it can. They can spot there. They can spot there. They can spot into that. They can probably spot that as well. But I feel like that's a very risky spot. But if they do get lit, they could easily make the retreat round here. But would they make it before they die? Who knows? Who knows? But again, you've still got all the obvious spots. You know, they'll still snipe from here. TD is still going to be there. You're probably going to get a TD here. Or medium. This this run along here, I still cannot decide how that's going to play. It looks so open. From an elevated position, it looks like a death zone. I still don't know how this is going to play over here. But let's have a look at the next image. We're near the end now, so we're getting there. Right, this is before. This is what we were talking about. Nothing really played here, because if you got lit here, you would die. You'd get a light tank here, spot in, but there was always a risk of getting seen there. But nothing really happened. It was too much of a dangerous area, this was. So nothing would go here. They didn't bother with that. But with it changing, which we're about to see, into this, they are... So there's positions now they can sit and shoot and then sort of make the play back down behind cover. Once they've been lit, they can get down behind that ridge, which makes this... It's a much more varied option to what it was before. TDs and mediums can go there. Light tanks can scout from here. I do partially wonder about this area back here. With all those trees knocked down, how much coverage would that give to TDs? I probably wouldn't risk knocking them trees down and shooting from there, because if you do get lit, you won't escape. There's nowhere to go. But there are trees that now sit there that if you've got really good camo, you might get away with it. But this ridge line here, same as the other side, now looks like it's going to be very, very strong. So let's move on to the next image, which should be a very similar one of the other side. Yeah, it's the other side. As you can see, as before, nothing could play here. It was too open. You get seen here, you're getting shot out the game. A light tank can play there. A medium can play there too, but you'd normally see a light tank there. But it was too open. Tanks couldn't really play in successful positions. That's about as much as we need to cover this image. So we'll move on to the next one already. And this is how it's going to be going forward. Again, they can now play here. Anywhere along this ridge. They can pop up. They can snipe. And they can instantly just fall back down behind the ridge into safety. Once they've shot their shots or been lit, they can fall back down there. Because behind that ridge will be a bit of cover. They can knock the trees down. They can do what they need to do. This area here, same as the other side, questionable, but we'll see how it works. Because I don't know how well tanks will be able to snipe from here without getting lit. I guess camo value is going to come into it, but with these trees knocked down, it might be a viable option. So they look to be good changes. They do look to be good changes. Paris has needed work for a long time. It's been one of the most banned maps I think I've seen on the server in some time. I don't really see many people talk positively about it. But yeah, that is everything from my point of view. These are the areas that are changing once again. I hope, watch the video back if you need a bit more coverage. Pause it where you need to. I hope I've indicated the areas as successfully as I can. It's hard to write on this with a mouse, but I hope I've pointed the things out. As you can see, we do a quick back and forward. This is before. This is after. Quite a dramatic change. This is before from the other point of view, the other side of the map. This is after. This is before. This overlooks the whole middle of this area. This is after. That when you see it from this point of view, it's quite dramatic. That to that. This is from one spawn point of view, from we assume to be the sniping area. Quite open, quite dull. Changes it massively. With all these ridges here, there's so much hull down opportunity going on if you can get into these dips. I've been speaking about light tanks doing it, but anything can come and play here. Heavy tanks can come and play here. Armoured TDs can come and play here. Depending on their gun depression, do they poke up into these areas and shoot? They can do the same from the other side, obviously. They can come this side and do the same. But I would expect fast tanks to rush into this dip. A couple of playable areas we didn't look at before, which could be here. And the same building the other side there. Could be a playable area, poking out and shooting. But risky, because as soon as you poke, you're probably going to get lit if you do that. But yeah, that's what I'm expecting that to happen. That's what I would expect to happen, sorry. Again, another point of view. This was it before. I'm not sure what wargaming we're going with this before. But I'll let you make your own assumptions about the shape of what we've got here. I'll let you make your own assumption about that. This shape. I'm far too mature to bring that to your attention, so I'm not going to. That was before. And as you can see now, dramatic change. Again, there might be a bit of playability here. If they want to poke out behind these buildings and fire into different zones, they can probably do that. Shoot into there, shoot into there. These will be able to shoot into here and shoot into there. But as soon as you poke out, you're probably going to get shot. So I wouldn't play there, but some players probably will. And yeah, this has been raised to give a bit more coverage so people can now play there, as I pointed out. It was flat and dangerous, and now it's elevated. Same as the other side, flat and dangerous. Now it's elevated to give you more opportunities. But that is what I'm seeing from the changes to Paris map. That's how I assume it's going to play. Now, I'm not a Unicum gamer. I'm fairly okay at the game, but that's what my expectations would be. You might all have your own ideas. I might have missed something in this run through. If I have, feel free to give me your feedback in the comments below. I want to do more videos like this, and I'm sure the more I do, the better it will get. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I am looking forward to your comments and opinions and pointing out things that I may have missed. So thank you for watching. Please feel free to like the video and subscribe. We're trying to do more on YouTube, so subscriptions go a long way. And thank you very much for watching. I look forward to your comments. I will see you all soon.